All right, let's get started. Thank you again for coming. This is our third Newbo Synth group. We've got 3 things tonight. We'll start with Synth Basics. So we found that a number of people here are brand new to synthesis, or people just want a refresher on a concept or hear a basic concept from a new perspective. And so we'll be diving into basics like just looking at envelopes or just looking at LFO or just looking at a filter. And if you don't know what any of those terms are, that's what the basics are for, is just diving in, learning what that is. And that will be with the Korg Minilogue. How do you say it, Chad? Yeah, Minilogue. And that's one of the things with the synth world is all the names are weird. You just kind of say whatever. So it's Minilogue, Moog, Moog. So Chad will be the first demo, and then Henry is going to show us Zero Coast, the Make Noise Zero Coast, which I'm really excited about. And then Caleb will be doing the main performance and tech talk. He's using Ableton, Mixer, Novation Launchpad, and Mofo. Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Great. Old school. Cool. Chad, do you want to come up? And we'll get started with the Synth Basics. Pause for Chad.
It was like 20 years ago, and I'm in college doing the speech how-to.
Exactly.
Anyone else have to do that?
We can get an overhead projector if we need.
It would have been nice probably to have like a PowerPoint presentation,
Absolutely.
but I'm too lazy, so I have a one-page print-off. So is there anybody here that's like totally raw with this much at all? Or just, we're
Some people.
Okay.
Ben, thank you for being here.
Yes.
We need newbies.
Okay.
Great.
So I'm not gonna get like too technical in depth, more probably how to simplify things and get a certain set of sounds, I guess, quickly. So oscillators, that's what makes the sound. I'm not gonna go too much into that. There's different oscillators, but I'm mainly gonna go into envelopes, which that's how you're gonna shape the sound, one of the ways that you're gonna shape the sound. So I'll go ahead and read the definitions, although I think they're really probably kind of too complex to even really make sense of. But the front panel, so I guess you can kind of, so whether you're using an actual synthesizer, analog, digital, VST plugins, which I use a lot of VST plugins as well, generally there's going to be things that it's always going to have. Your bass things are going to be the oscillators, which are going to make the sounds, the envelopes, and filters. Those are if you can figure out how to use those. What's up, Pat?
Hey, Pat.
You can do quite a bit. Yeah, I won't mess with the definitions. So there's always going to be attack, and they're always in order as far as I know. I've never seen them out of order.
Old bugs are they're weird.
Are they?
There's 5 of them. It's
Okay,
weird.
interesting. So attack's going to be, and let me maybe find an example here. I'm just going to put it on like an init patch, which is basically a stock patch. So that's just one oscillator, just a boring noise. So what attack, so if you have attack's gonna be how long it takes to get to its maximum loudness. So if you are wanting something quick like a percussion or a stab or something like that, it's gonna have low attack because you want it to sound loud right away, like. See how it has full sound right when you trigger it? And then if you put the attack, so I'll just turn it up about halfway, you'll notice it'll ramp up to the full volume. Oh, I need to turn the sustain release off. But.
So it's sort of like the fade in.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's like I guess a ramp up would maybe be an easy way to describe that. Now, as far as actually making sounds, kind of without getting too technical into it, generally if you want like a pad or a string sound, like something celestial, or let me see if I can find a good pad on here. So a pad would be something like, so for pads, you're going to usually want a higher attack. Now, the decay, to me, is more, and maybe Jason or somebody else can say whether they agree with this. To me, it's more of a volume. And would you agree with that?
Decay is it the time between
It is.
and then the sustain?
It is.
It's like how long it takes. Because if you take off the sustain and release, you can use just those two, and you can use the decay like a release. It's just like, it's just a stage. So you can use it or not.
Right.
Yeah, it's
They are ASR without the D.
yeah. To me, it's probably the least important personally, as far as, but especially I notice on VSTs more so than analog, it really does affect the overall volume of it. But to me, the main thing is the sustain and the release together. So sustain is just what it says. It's how long it's going to play. So if you have the sustain down and the attack down, everything low, it's basically going to be like a quick, quarter note or a shorter sound. Whereas the sustain, so that's why for like a string or a pad, you would want it higher because you want it to last longer. So you turn it up. And then the release is going to be how long it takes for that sound to basically stop. Let's see how it says it here. How long it takes for the song or for the sound to silence. So I'll play it with the release all the way up. And even if I take my hand off of it, it's gonna keep playing because the release is high. So if you return it down, it stopped right away. So when I'm making music predominantly, so I guess the way to apply this is to think of pads. You generally want all of the envelopes probably middle to all the way open roughly. I mean, obviously it's synthesis, you can experiment and mess around, but and same with leads, you're probably going to want it to be a longer this thing has really small keys, by the way. So any sort of like lead melody pads, you're probably going to want to have your settings set higher. Let's see if I can find a good. So if you're going to go into like percussion or bass and things like that, a lot of times you're going to want something shorter. So that almost sounds like a kick drum. Now listen, so this is, I'm going to turn everything all the way down, which you get nothing.
And you get nothing because the envelope is completely closed?
Completely closed.
Okay, and so these are different ways to
So
open envelopes.
it would have, like I said, a PowerPoint would have been a little more organized. I'm just kind of winging it. But like I said, really what it is, and
Can you show the graphic?
sure, and you can look this up online about anywhere. But really what it is, you can use any synthesizer to a certain extent if you know the basics, the signal path of how everything goes. So you're essentially taking the oscillator, that sound, and it's going through here, and depending on what you do with each knob, it's going to affect the way that sound is shaped. You wanna?
So basically, for that graph, the knobs are controlling the.
Well, it's controlling how long that it goes, how long it takes to get to a high volume, how long it stays at that volume. That's all adjusted in the envelope section. Why don't I have sound here? And sometimes you gotta be careful if you get them too low. It's so short that it'll get clicky. So sometimes you can add just a little bit of attack to it so it doesn't, that usually takes away the click. So I'll just go through a couple, find a couple sounds here to just kind of go from low to high on the. This is probably a good one. All right, so I'm going to turn everything almost as low as it'll go. So it's a shorter note and everything's shorter, so it's staccato basically. And then if I raise the sustain, and that's why usually for the pads, the longer bass lines, stuff like that, you're gonna want those higher. And that's with the release up, so you notice it just kind of, it keeps going after you take pressure off the key. And then I'll put an attack on it. See how it actually took probably about a second until you started to hear it? So you hear that, stuff like that in movies and a lot of stuff like that. So I don't know how we are on time, but so basically, I guess that'd be some homework for the new people. You can find free VSTs all over the place if you, I don't know what's standalone, but if you have some kind of DAW to put it in, just start with the simple one that's got 1 or 2 oscillators, and play around with this. So then after that signal flow, then generally you're going to take it to the filter, which the filter is also usually going to have the same envelope settings. So then you can make, so if they're higher on the envelope, you can have more of a sweeping. I don't know if I'm getting ahead of people here or not, but or if you turn it down.
So the envelope for the filter is how, it's not how this oscillator is opening and closing. That's the main envelope. The filter envelope is how,
well, that's gonna,
how the filter kicks in.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
So you can essentially have something more like a pad with higher envelope settings, and if you have the filter on with settings that are maybe a little bit lower than the main envelope, you can manipulate that by, let's see if I can find it good. So even though this is a really long note, you can make it so when you turn the filter down, it's closing and shelving that off, so it's shaping the sound and essentially bending it back down to, I guess, a shorter note is maybe a way to describe it. So. any questions, I'm probably, or I can go on. I can take a chair and talk for the next half an hour.
No, let's keep things moving. Does anyone have specific questions of anything that didn't make sense, or now is the perfect time if you have any general questions about envelopes or any stage of the envelopes? Do we have a question? What's VST?
So that's a virtual synthesizer. So that's going to be a computer program essentially that normally has basically the same functions. You can search. Like, do you actually have any music making software of any kind?
Yeah, I have an
Okay. I mean, Ableton comes with VSTs.
So those are
Should
things
have
that
stock.
you can drag onto a channel, and then all of a sudden you've got a synthesizer in that channel.
Yeah.
If you see the one that says analog, that's like a good one, but it's pretty standard, similar to.
Yeah. So I guess the easiest, if you're a beginner, I guess the thing I would take away is that think of it as note length, maybe. If you want a longer note, then you are going to want the decay, sustain, release, at least those three. You're going to want probably mid to high. If it's a pad, you're probably going to want to put attack on with that. But if you want a shorter note, like a bass line or percussion or anything snappy, then you're going to want everything pretty low. And once you know that, at least gets you in the same ballpark, then of course it's synthesis, so you just screw around with it until you find something that sounds cool. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. But if you know a little bit about how it works, you can get to the end result faster, I think, than, I mean, if you've never touched a synthesizer, you could probably come here and screw around and you'd probably find something that sounds cool. But if you actually have something specific that you want to say, oh, I want it to sound like this, then you do kind of have to know how to get from point A to Z, I guess I would say. But it's fun to screw around, you know. That's when you make some of your best stuff too. But anyways, you can just Google ADSR or envelopes, and you can get the actual. Like I said, I printed this off thinking I was gonna. It's. I don't know that reading the definitions necessarily really helps you.
Let's get a close up of that for the camera. I know Drew's watching on. Hi, Drew. All right.
Oh, shameless plug too. So I'm gonna leave some flyers. So myself and Jason actually, and Colin, I think that's all that's probably here. It's a long drive, but if you like electronic music, not just techno, but like very experimental, Drop Bass Network, they've been throwing this party. This is it's been 25 years since they did the first one. Jason's gonna be doing 2 sets, and I have a group I do with, a project I do with this guy from the UK, and we'll be playing as well, and actually quite a few Iowa people. And I maybe would have a spot left if anybody wants to work their way up to that. I'm always helping out new people or want to help out. Also, especially for new people or experienced people, look me up on Facebook through this group. I'm more than happy to help, teach Ableton. I use Ableton, FL Studio, synthesis, VST plugins, mixing. I mean, I actually enjoy working with other people. And
How long have you been doing it?
oh boy, so basically 90. Well, I started like DJing in 94. I probably didn't start producing till like 96 or something like that. And it's, always learning, I really feel like I've got a lot better the last couple of years, but
Sometimes it takes 20 years.
but yeah, it's just all about making time to do it and get lost in it, and that's what's fun about. And I don't know how some people are kind of snobby about their gear versus virtual and stuff like that. Use what you can get, use what you can afford, and make the best music you can out of it. basically, I guess that's
Great.
my thing.
Thank you, Chad.